Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you, Dan. I'm really happy to be here.
All right. So we are talking about multitasking, and I'm going
Uh,
to stay focused on just this interview today. So what kind of
awesome.
multitasking are we talking about?
Yeah, the multitasking that doesn't work so well is multitasking two things or more at one time that need your focus or concentration. So we're not talking about, you can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? That doesn't take focus or attention. But a typical workplace example might be I'm listening to a webinar and I'm also sending email at the same time. Both, in theory, if there's purpose for being on that webinar and for the email you're sending, need your focus and attention for you to get the most out of it. And the downside to multitasking is much greater than the possibility that you could get more done in less time. It just doesn't work.
Just doesn't work. Well, why do we feel like we have to multitask to get it all done, right? Because that's why we do it, right? That's why you're sitting on the
Yeah.
webinar. You're like, shoot us on this email. Why do we feel like we need to do that?
Well, I mean, just like you described, the housing market as being kind of fast and frenzied right now, and so therefore needing to take a little more time and just doing things the right way. I mean, so too with our life, where there's lots of demands on our time and attention. A lot of us have a ton of hats we wear or lots on our plate, and so in order to get it all done, there's the idea that, well, shouldn't we try and do more than one thing at one time? And I also think it's kind of a myth, we could say the myth of multitasking that's been perpetuated over years, where we might still see on some job descriptions out there, or someone might kind of wear like a badge of honor, like, oh, I can multitask, or, the ability to multitask being a desired quality. And I don't really think that employers are wanting somebody to have split attention, which is really what happens when we multitask. I think they want employees to be able to handle multiple things during a day.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Oh, you're saying that the misconception is we're being told that that's how we become a better employee, but why doesn't it work?
Yeah, it doesn't work because our brains aren't wired to think about, concentrate, or focus on two things at a time. So, what's actually happening in our brain when we are attempting to multitask is what is better termed as switch tasking. So, while you're, let's say, on that webinar and trying to send an email at the same time, you're asking your brain to rapidly switch back and forth to listening to and paying attention to the webinar and focusing on the email that you're sending. And every time you switch like that, you lose time. Your rate of error or potential errors goes up. So typos in the email, could be a small, you leave an E off the word that's not a big deal. Or it could be, a zero left off the end of a figure on an offer that you're making. And that could be really significant, right? So slows us down. Things take 40% more time when we're doing this switch tasking than if we were to just focus on one thing or the other. Rate of errors goes up, our stress level goes up. And then the reason I kind of playfully say multitasking makes you stupid is because of an article that I read. This was in the Wall Street Journal years ago, written by an author named Sue Schellenberger, and she titled it multitasking makes you stupid. So that's where I got the concept. But her article showed that when we're multitasking, our ability to learn new things and our ability to remember things goes way down. So we kind of lose some IQ points when we're multitasking, and so that's the title.
Well, and our cell phones are designed to pull us in and then split our brain up into these quick switching, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
nonstop, like, ooh, who just posted what on what social media platform?
Yep.
Uh, and
And it's not just the cell phones, but the developers of those platforms. They create their platforms, their tools, their apps, their technology to be somewhat addictive,
Mhm.
where if we're not on them, we have FOMO, like we might be missing out on something. And when we get these notifications, and this is something that I see a lot of people dealing with their phones or email, these notifications and checking them out, we get these little dopamine hits. So
Mhm.
they're actually pretty smart developers as far as manipulating the brain, right? With how they can get us hooked. We need to pay
Like, and see,
attention to
we're
that.
we're talking about, organization. You're talking, you're an organizational, coach. So we're talking about organization, and yet we're talking about distractions, and we're talking about social media, which I think is actually really telling, because as we dig into how to become I think you and I know a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, right? And
Mhm.
time to them is very limited because if they want to have life balance, they want to be in a position to be efficient with their time and then switch off. And we're constant. And this is something that I think not only us, but the younger generations are going to have to figure out a way through this, because in order to become, a really good functioning member of society, you have to be able to be productive and also present, right? So that's like all around the organization stuff. So
For
we need
sure.
we need some tips. What should we do instead? How do we get started on this journey to be smarter and less stupid when it comes to multitasking?
So because of all these demands on our attention and the social media and the, million and one ways that we are communicating with each other and our coworkers and our network, there are lots of demands on our attention, like we've talked about. And as such, our attention span as a human race is shorter and shorter. So I've heard that we now have the attention span of a goldfish, which isn't very high. So we need to do some things to help us pay attention to one thing at a time, which is the opposite of multitasking. It's focus. We need to practice some things that help us focus on one thing at a time, and to be able to focus on one thing at a time to be more productive.
What are those
So
things we can do?
yeah, a few things. Some of it is self-care, like when we're hydrating and we're eating the right things and we're taking breaks and we move our bodies, that all helps our brain, believe it or not, concentrate and focus. So that's, kind of that self-care, common sense, like we know we should be doing these things and they're good for our body, but did we know that they were good for our brain and productivity as well? So taking care of ourselves is one thing that you can do to increase focus. Get enough
If I can
sleep. That
interject before you go to the
Yeah,
second point,
yeah.
I'm gonna do like this humble brag thing. I have been consistently getting myself up at 5 in the morning and working
Mhm.
out,
Yep.
and this morning was day three. So day three, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I sleep in on the weekends, and it's like by day three, it's really hard to get up. But I
Mhm.
knew that after my morning breakfast, my workout, and then I went and had some coffee with some friends, and then came back and sat down, and it was probably one of the most productive hours, and I felt the most refreshed and ready to
Yep.
go
Yep.
right then and there. And
Yep.
it's like, I feel so good. And
Right.
normally, and that was still, I want to say, like 8:30. It wasn't,
Hmm.
that late.
Yeah. Yeah. So by doing that in the morning, you're setting yourself up for success, to be able to focus, to have the energy you want to be productive. So that's all good stuff, that self-care
Okay,
stuff.
cool.
And then there's some time management things that we can do to help us increase our focus. So we can do what's under our control to minimize or eliminate distractions. So it's that distraction, the shiny object. I mentioned the notifications on our phone or email that pulls our attention away from the thing that we intend to be focused on, and we lose that focus, or we attempt to do more than one thing at a time. So think about, what could you do to stop interrupting yourself or allowing those distractions?
Close all browser windows except for when I
Yes,
work out.
yes, just
No
the one
tabs.
thing, right?
No tabs.
Clearing clutter in your physical environment. So that also could be, what's around you. The average American worker has about 37 hours of unfinished work on their desk or desktop at any one point in time. That all can't be a priority right now, and it all can't be your focus right now. So what are you focused on, and how could you clear away distraction, physical clutter, by eliminating it, or having systems in your workplace where you can put things away and know that you'll be reminded to do the right thing at the right time? Because typically the reason people leave things out is because they fear out of sight, out of mind. So
Yeah,
clearing clutter is another way to minimize distraction.
and I know for me, I've always had it kind of a cluttered desk, and I go by that. I don't trust anybody that has a clean desk. Although I know on your, from your point of view, I also agree. The reason why I have a stack right here on my right of notepads and papers is because I haven't really put these away yet in my mind. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
got like a floor plan of something, of a home that I want to list, right? And it's just sitting there to remind me. That could even be systematized, right? That's
For
where
sure. For
what's
sure.
the name of the book? The Get Things Done. Is that the name of the
Getting
book?
things done. Hmm.
Getting Things Done, where they just talk about by physically putting away your saying that's done, and that's why I leave them out, because I'm there.
Right.
but then I need to
Which
action them too.
I was gonna say, I disagree. I think by physically putting it away, if there's a to-do still associated with it, you just need a task management system to queue up that to-do.
Hmm.
So if you could put the thing away, but create a task on whatever, whatever you're using, whether it's a written to-do list or a calendar or an app or Outlook task, you tie that with the putting something away, you can have that thing put away, but that task, it's going to come up. Like if you say, I need to do this Friday, on Friday, there it comes up and you say, oh yeah, that's in the drawer right here. So
Hmm.
you don't have to have it out reminding you, you just need good systems in place.
I like that. That's good. Good systems in place. And by doing that, I'm not distracted by looking over there and say, oh yeah, yep, I want to do that. I've already put it
Right.
on my calendar when I'm going to do that.
Exactly. So you can, again, focus on what you're choosing to do right now, the highest priority that's going to move things forward right now. And you're not distracted by things that you want to do later. You can kind of compartmentalize.
So it's interesting because it's organization, it's tuning out distractions. I think focus is huge. I have on my desk, I don't know if we can see this, but this is a timer, so
Mhm.
that I can actually turn on a timer. And if my task was to work on A, B, or C task, whatever it is, I set my timer
Yep.
and can just stay focused on that. I mean,
Yep.
all of that stuff, it's like exercise, right? Don't expect to say, okay, I'm going to focus for 2 hours here. It's like
Right.
exercise. You got to build up some strength, some muscles, right?
That's right. And consider your style, your preference, your needs, because somebody might be able to focus for an hour, whereas somebody else might say, you know what, after 30 minutes, I got to have a break.
Mhm.
I use a timer too. And, I love the idea that you could do, have you heard of the Pomodoro technique?
No.
It's working in a focused 25-minute time period. And as this goes away, I know to stay focused. But then at the end of 25 minutes, in theory, I'd take a 5-minute break. And then I'd do another task that's a 25-minute task and then a 5-minute break. Because taking breaks, like we talked about before, it's good for our ability to focus, to take a break, to get some water, to get some movement, to do something different, to reward yourself for staying on task for 25 minutes and checking Facebook if that's what you choose to do. So there's a place for all those things. We just need a rhythm to it.
Yeah. There's a thing that we call the bold law that says time expands to the work expands to the time allotted, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the inverse is true. So if you constrain your time on a task, you get it done. That's why I've
Yep.
planned so many vacations in the last year, because I know
Mhm.
I have to be more efficient with my time, and I have a
Right.
reward, which is
Yeah.
going on a short little trip with the family or something like that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
All right. So if listeners want more information on this topic, how do they get it?
They can contact me. I love talking about this stuff. I just find it super interesting. I think there's science behind it. There's an art to focus. There's technique that we can teach. So our website is itssimplyplaced.com, and reach out, schedule a call. We have a complimentary discovery call. If anyone wants to talk about working together or seeing what that would be like, there's no risk and no hard sell, I promise. But I love to have conversations, because if somebody has a need or wants to learn more, we may have a solution that's a good fit.
Awesome. Do you have any special promotions to offer our listeners today if they call you or reach out?
Yeah. I mean, a couple things. I had two that are just easy for me to talk about. For anyone who's still working from home, or will be doing some hybrid work solution or continuing to work from home for the foreseeable future. At the beginning of the pandemic, we created this Rock Your Work from Home guide. That's available on our website. So if you go to itssimplyplaced.com and then slash WF R for our WFH for work from home guide. And you can just hop on the website. You'll find it that way too. So you can request that guide. We'll happily send it to you, again, no cost. And then the second offer that I'd love to make for your listeners is for anybody who is interested in booking a discovery call and talking about what it would be like to work together. If when you book that, you put in the notes that you came from the Eastside real estate team, I'm going to give you a gift of our 90-day planning tool, which is an awesome tool to help you focus. It's going to help you get clear on a couple of primary objectives or goals for the next 3 months to focus on, and get you to really think about what steps to take, how specifically to do it, what might get in your way. It's just a great tool, and I love to share it.
Awesome, Debbie. Thank you so much. That's really generous of you.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, before we end the show, let's see, I got to switch to this one. I am going to share our latest listing that we have. Let's see. Oh, there it is. It's in Everett. We just listed it, went live today. It is a 6-bedroom. This is a giant home, and it's actually great for how a lot of our families are living these days. 6-bedroom. You can go to yournexthomeineverett.com, and it's a good size house. 31. It's a 2-story with a basement. 6 bedrooms, 4 bath. It's got a full bathroom on the main level. It's got all these a ton of upgrades, digital smart home, all that stuff. Some great pictures. I love the pillowy clouds in our pictures that we got. It's really, it's great. So you can go to the website, get the video tour, the 3D walkthrough. Here's the location, really close to Payne Field, Mukilteo. If you like hopping on the ferry, hopping on I-5 and Martha Lake, you could actually walk. There's a little path that goes all the way down here that you can walk to Martha Lake. So come see us this weekend. We'll be open Saturday and Sunday from noon to 4. Yeah, that's it. We're really proud of that listing. So we hope to see you out there. And if you know of anybody that's looking to buy that home, come send them our way. Yeah, that concludes our show. Debbie, again, thanks for coming on. We always appreciate to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. So you guys, please subscribe to the podcast or follow up. If you have any other questions or if you'd like to be on the show, you could reach us at the eastsiderealestateteam.com. This is Dan Edwards for the Seattle Eastside Real Estate Podcast. Thanks for watching, listening, and subscribing. Take care.